Okay, on this next tutorial, I am showing how this is part two of kind of doing the effects with the music video. This is more cleanup work than effects, which does require effect work. But anyway, we've got this clip right here. This clip where these people walk in front of. Got this clip here where these people walk in front. Let me mute that in front of this license plate right there, and and the guy who's we did the music video for said, "Hey, I don't like my license plate showing right there. Can you get rid of it?" So what we're going to do is get rid of that license plate there. So I'm going to right click on this. Actually, let's duplicate it first because I like to keep my original footage inside of Premiere. I'm going to Alt and drag that up, or Option and drag it up on a Mac, and it duplicates it. I'm going to right click and say replace this shot with an After Effects composition. I'm going to save this. I'm just saving it to my desktop right now, but I'm just going to call this license plate. So something that is done here, just to kind of explain, this is it does this with red footage as well when it's red raw footage, but this footage here is DSLR footage, and it's been scaled to meet 4K. It was 1920 by 1080, but it's been scaled up to a 4K timeline. So it's actually done the same thing where it's taken this footage here, it's put it inside of its own composition as an edited clip, and then lays that edited composition on this composition down here. So I'm going to hit enter here and call this one license plate. There we go, and I can actually hide all my other stuff into a folder so it's nice and organized. Assets, there we go, and all cleaned up. Now I'm going to do a 3D camera track of this because we're going to track an object to be over top of this license plate here. So I'm going to select this timeline, and notice if it's not showing up here, you can go under your little arrangement up here, click on motion tracking, and it will arrange to show your tracker. So down here, I have to turn on the rasterize information on this. If that's not showing, hit your toggle switches and check mark this little star right here, which rasterizes vector images, which will turn off the motion tracking. So I don't want that. I want that turned back on for it's a composition, so it thinks it might be a rasterized vector, or it might be a vector image. So I'm going to hit track camera. We're going to let this track now. Right up here, you'll see the time start counting down. And we're going to let this track and figure out the 3D camera space. There it goes, right there. It's starting to count the frames there. And then once that's finished, we'll come back and take a look at what it's done. Okay, once that's done tracking there, it's going to do the solve the camera. It's going to figure out the camera, and what we're going to have here, select our camera tracker, and you'll have a whole bunch of these points. You have a whole bunch of these points all over here. You see all these little points here that you can make targets on. Let me turn down that target size so it's not getting in the way there. So you're going to see all these little points here. It's going to try to create a target. What we're going to do is we're going to do it around the license plate, get it kind of track around the license plate plane. So I'm going to grab I'm going to grab 3 of these pixels right here. I didn't even need to grab those because it's making plenty of targets, and create a target right there. I'm going to right click on this and say create a solid and camera. And it creates a solid right there and a camera angle right there. So it's got that solid and the camera. And let's go to this track solid. I'm going to hit scale and turn that down a little bit. So kind of see what's happening with the license plate there. Now as we play, look how it tracks right to the car and stays on it the whole time, tracks right on that license plate for the entire shot. Now all we have to do is find something to replace that right there. Well, that's not all. There's a few other steps, but let's go to Premiere here. And I'm going to grab a still image here because I'm going to use Photoshop instead of just all After Effects, because this has Photoshop has a really nice feature called Content Aware. I'm going to get rid of this, and I don't think they have that in After Effects yet. So I'm gonna just scale that back my little After Effects there, so I can find an image, a clear image of the bumper here, right there. I'm going to hit take a photo of this right here, export to frame. I'm going to tell it to do a bitmap, so it's higher quality than a JPEG. I'm going to browse. I'm going to save this. I'm just going to go on my desktop. Actually, let's go into downloads right now. But you should save this on your hard drive. I'm just putting it on my downloads. I'm going to call this car plate or something like that, so I know what that is. Hit OK. I'm going to go to Photoshop. Go to my downloads there, right click on this JPEG and open with Photoshop. So here's the image right here. I'm going to Alt and scroll up to this license plate right here. I'm going to grab a box here, the little box selection, and I'm going to select around this, around the snow and the license plate, like that. I'm going to right click in here and say fill. We're going to fill this area, and it's going to say how do you want to fill it. I'm going to do content aware right there. What it's going to do is it's going to borrow from the surrounding area and try to fill this in as best as it can and blend it in. It's a nice little feature Photoshop uses to get rid of like telephone wires and extra people and things you don't want in the shot. You hit OK, and holy crap, they did actually a really good job. So I'm going to hit Command D And you can go in and clean this up a little bit because it looks like the grate right there needs to be kind of matched with the grate if you really want to get fine tune it, which I actually did, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'm not doing a Photoshop tutorial. And right now this is like duplicated like the little snow bits from over here, and it kind of looks like very repetitive. So you could actually use your clone tool. Actually use the clone tool here. Click on my clone tool. I'm going to hold down Alt or Option on a Mac. Click over here once right there, and I can kind of get rid of some of those spots there if I want this to look a little different. Let's click there, Alt click there, and erase that little area right there. I could even click like right here and make a line go across the grill there if I wanted to. There we go. Sweet. So now I'm going to just hit Control S and save this, and it just updated that photo, and that's all saved and flattened to that photo. I can go back to After Effects, import that photo. There's my car plate right there. I'm going to grab my car plate here, and I'm going to, first of all, I got to select my track solid there. So this is highlighted. Very important you have this highlighted. I'm going to grab this car plate, drag downwards, and while you're hovering it over this, I'm going to hold down Alt or Option on a Mac. Holding down Option, I let go of the mouse now, and it replaces that solid with my image there. It's kind of big, so I'm going to hit Scale and scale this down. And actually, I just need that portion of the license plate right there. So I'm going to double click on this. So now I've got this still image. Watch this. It's playing over the top of this. It's tracked to the movement of the camera. So that still image. I'm going to double click on this, open it up, and I'm just going to get it H for hand to move that. And I'm going to just kind of get this little portion where the license plate is down there. I'm going to draw a mask over this portion where the license plate is, right about there. Go down to my mask and feather that a little bit. Feather the edges around the mask. There we go. And go back to my composition. And there it is right there. So now all I have to do is kind of get that into the place where it needs to be. Let's go to the beginning of the timeline here. And I'm going to deselect and select that there so it grabs my mask here. And notice it's got the 3D camera tracking information. That's your Z-axis, X-axis, Y-axis. Or sorry, Z-axis, X-axis, Y-axis. I want to change my anchor point so it's down here. So right now I'm going to hit my pan behind tool right up here. The shortcut is Y. I'm going to grab the anchor point for this clip and drag it right to the center there. So it scales surrounding that anchor point right there instead of the anchor point where it originally was. Now I'm going to, let's hold down Alt and scroll up to this. H for hand, V for my regular arrow tool. I'm going to grab the Y-axis and move it up. H for hand, move it down, V, and move this over right there and try to get this so it matches. Right now my scale needs to change size a little bit to get this to match. So I'm going to go to Scale. I'm going to change the size here, just get that to where it fits right in there. Looks like it needs a little bit bigger and move down a little bit. And scale, let's change that to 18. Right about there. And that looks like it matches almost pretty good there. Let's move that down a little bit. Right there. And that looks like it matches in there pretty good. It blends in there. We got rid of the license plate. Now when we play, the only issue is these people walk in front. So look how that tracks though. It locks right to it and gets rid of the license plate. That's really nice. So now we have to deal with the issue of these people walking in front of the car there. So first of all, I'm going to minimize the amount that I need the effects that I'm going to be doing here. So I'm going to go down and select my mask on this thing. There's my mask. And I'm going to go to the corner here. I'm going to grab this edge of the mask here, and I'm just going to get it to where it just barely kind of covers the license plate. And that'll minimize the amount of effect work that I need to do. Bring this down. Right there's good. Right there's good. Right there's good. And there we go. Shift question mark to show full frame there. Now there's just a little spot we got 4 sets of legs that cross that thing there. So this is where it gets a little tedious. You're going to have to go to each leg here. You could use roto brushing to do this. That almost with the amount that we have to do here, that would almost be a little too much work. So I'm going to duplicate this bottom layer. I'm going to highlight it, do Command D, pull it over the top. So now it's basically over the top. And I'm going to cut out just one leg at a time. I'm going to have to do this basically 4 times. I'm going to call this first one here. This girl's the singer here. So I'm just going to call this singer leg 1. I'm going to duplicate this again and call it singer leg 2. Duplicate it again, we'll call this one actress leg 1. Duplicate it again, actress leg 2. I'm going to shut these three off here. Click, and we're going to work on the first leg. Once you get used to rotoscoping, this actually goes by fairly quickly, especially for a shot like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use my pen tool with this layer selected, and I'm going to, let's get her, I'm going to do page down until I get her right in front there of the license plate. And I'm going to draw a mask, click and drag over just the portion that I just really need, right about there. Do a little Bezier curves on these edges here, just high enough to have the leg, and there we go. It cut out this mask. So basically what we have is this floating leg over everything else. So see that? We've got this leg, we've got the back plate, we've got this motion tracked license plate replacement, and the leg on the cut out on the top of that. So now I'm going to animate this this mask here. I'm going to go down under mask, hit mask path, turn on the keyframing for the mask path, arrow back a couple times. Let's go to where it's just clear from the license plate right there. And now I'm going to reposition this rotospline, and it will animate from one portion to the next. I'm going to hit V to grab all these four are selected already. I'm going to move it over, but now I'm going to reposition. I click inside to deselect these nodes, and I'm going to reposition each one of these nodes where they need to be, like that. And now I'm going to do page down. Right there, it's cutting off a little portion of the leg, so I'm going to get right in the middle there and reposition this so it's in front of the leg there. And now let's see how it does. And it looks like it did pretty decent besides that. Some little minor adjustments, but I'm going to move past the plate there. H for hand, move it over. Move this where her leg is. I'm looking at her left leg, not her right leg there, so I'm going to have to kind of get creative and kind of imagine where that's at right now until this other leg crosses by, and finish off this left leg here. And get this in the approximate position there. There we go. And see, I've got some fine tune here. I'm hitting page down, page up to go frame by frame and make additional keyframes where and get this leg positioned where it should be. And that one's showing through the license plate a little bit. And that one is too a little bit. There we go. And this one's cutting off the front of the leg. Right there. And you'll fine tune this so it gets rid of that license plate back there. You can actually just feather this a little bit as well. Feather it by about maybe 5-7 pixels or so. And then I'm going to expand the mask backwards, which will eat into the leg a little bit, and get rid of the license plate. So let's see how that looks kind of playing through. That leg looks pretty good. Now I got to do the front leg. So you'll repeat this process for each leg but that didn't take all that long. That was really quick. So I can go to the next one, turn this one on, activate it, and do the next leg, which is going to be her right leg as it crosses the license plate. And then I will have to do this actress's leg and this actress's leg here. But what I want to do though is just shorten this to the portion that I need so I don't have to do extra work. Right there where it crosses, I'm going to go to this clip and do Alt or Option, left bracket key, and add an endpoint. As I play through this, and it's past where I need that leg to be gone. I haven't finished it, but once the leg is gone and past the license plate, I'm going to do Alt right bracket and turn that video off. That does endpoint, outpoint, and I'll do that. Repeat this for each clip, just for the portion that it crosses the license plate. Do an endpoint and outpoint. Everyone will be slightly different. In fact, that right leg is really fast, so that's going to be really short. And I'll repeat that process on each one of these until until each leg blocks it completely out. And let's take a look at what that looks like when it's finished. So when it's finished, this is basically what it looks like here. Across in front there, and the license plate is gone. Okay, and one other little cleanup that I want to do here is the person that we did the music video for mentioned that there were a few shots that had this tape here on the floor, this little marking tape for the musicians. As we place through it, we see that little tape there. So we're going to use a 3D camera tracker to get rid of that one as well. So let's go back to Premiere. I'm going to grab this file here. I'm going to Alt or Option and drag it up to duplicate it. I don't want this dissolve on. I'm going to get rid of that dissolve because I'm going to affect the entire clip. So I'm going to right click on this. Actually, I'm going to close After Effects because I don't want it saved on the same project as I had before. I'm going to do this one as a separate project here. So I close After Effects and I'm going to right click on this and say replace with After Effects composition. So I did this because I had one project that had all the green screen in it, one project that had the license plate stuff in it, which was 2 shots, and then and then I'm going to do one with the tape on the floor here. So I'm going to go to my desktop, save this, or do it on the hard drive that you're working on. I'm going to call this tape removal. I had one guy one time that I said I was like removing objects, and he said, "That's not removing objects, that's covering it." Like, semantics, bro. Semantics. So whatever, whether it's removal or cover up, I don't care. It's all the same thing. Anyway, and somebody's going to send me a message. No, it's not. I'm like, whatever. Okay. Anyway, so I'm going to right click on this here. And this is red footage, so I'm going to color this properly here. I'm going to go to Interpret Footage Main and go to More Options. And we're going to tell this to make sure it's at 3200, 0 tint there. Hit OK. OK, and boom, color's changed. So I got the color temperature that I need from the raw footage. You don't have to always do that. It just depends on if the tint was off a little bit on that, and I want it to kind of look a little bit more normal. So our first step here is we are going to camera track this. Same as before on the other one, I have to turn off the rasterize, the vector information there. Select that clip, and for this, there's a little bit of smoke kind of moving around. So if you ever lose information, if you ever try to do a camera track and it doesn't track it really well and it tells you that it can't solve the camera, one thing that you can do is tell it to do more of a detailed track. Right now I'm just going to hit track camera and let it do the tracking there. And if it does do it cannot solve the camera when it's done, you can go under advanced and tell it to do a detailed analysis, and it usually on pretty much everything will be able to track the data. On this one I did have to do it for some reason. It wasn't able to track it really well, so I do detailed analysis on this one. I'm going to check mark it. It starts the analyzing over again. It takes a bit longer, but it has more detailed information. It's able to do a pretty solid track. So let's let that track. We'll come back and take a look at what we've got. Okay, it's done with its detailed analysis. If I go to the effects control panel here, actually, it's just in my project here, I renamed it. This is the fourth clip I had to do it to, so I'm naming this tape 4. I'm going to bring over the other clips I need as well. So this is, I changed the name of the composition to the number 4 clip, and I've hidden all my assets into this folder here. But with this clip selected, I'm going to go to the effects controls, and I'm going to select the 3D camera tracker here, and it's going to show all the detailed analysis down here. Let's see if we can find something. I'm going to go to the floor here. I want to use the plane of the floor, and actually there are 3 dots right there, right on the tape. And those ones seem to stay fairly consistent. One disappears or it loses track of one of them, and you really need 3 to create a target. So you can sometimes move this around and find it where you get, and I want to set something flat on this floor here. So those 3 pixels are really good there to create this flat plane flat on the floor. I'm going to right click on this and say create solid and camera right there on the floor. Shift question mark to zoom out. And now you'll notice this little solid there stays flat on the floor as this camera kind of moves back and forth. You can see that that solid staying flat over the tape there. So my solid is right there over the floor there. All right, now I need something to cover it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my project here. I'm going to take this full composition and I'm going to duplicate it. Control D will duplicate it. And now I've got just named it as tape 5. I'm going to call this tape 4 freeze. It's going to be my freeze frame for it. So I'm going to get to this portion where I want to freeze it. Let's find something where the shadows are kind of opened up there where it doesn't cover it completely there. And I'm going to take this image right here. Oh wait, so now I'm going to double click on this. It is a duplicate composition. I'm going to get rid of my 3D camera tracker and track solid out of that. I don't need it because I'm just going to freeze frame this. And I'm going to get it right to the frame when I want to freeze it. That's good because I got a good open space here of some floor I can duplicate and move over here. So I'm going to, let's get rid of the 3D camera tracking information off this as well. So it's just this timeline left alone. I'm going to right click on this, tell it to go to time and freeze frame. We're going to freeze frame it right on that. And it's frozen for this entire composition right on this frame right there. Now I'm going to cut out a portion of this floor. I'm going to go down here. Let's zoom up to the floor here. I'm going to put my mouse right here and Alt scroll up to it. Hit H for hand, move it, hit my pen tool, and let's grab a portion of the floor kind of at the same perspective of that tape there and cut that out right there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom up to this portion of the floor so the only thing I'm dealing with is just this portion of the image. I'm going to change my anchor point. I'm going to deselect that mask, select the clip, hit my pan behind tool. Here's my anchor point. Click and drag that over the middle of that right there. And now I'm going to hit S for scale. I'll bring up my scale and I'm going to zoom this up. And I'm also going to hit V for my arrow tool, move that to the center of the screen, maybe scale a little bit more. Right there, and that's all we're dealing with is just this and nothing, no other part of the image. I'm going to hit my M for my mask tool, arrow this down, go to my feather, and soften the edges just a little bit. Kind of blur the edges there. Alright, so now I'm going to go back to my other composition here, and we're going to replace this solid with our freeze composition that I just created. So I'm going to grab this, I've got my track solid selected, I'm going to grab this, start moving it down, hold down Alt, and drop it on that clip, and it has replaced it with that right there. I'm going to move down and take a look at this. H for hand, kind of move this around and look at this image here. I'm going to mess around with my z-axis. I don't want to set it for my z-axis. I don't want to set it any further back in space. Let's move this around and you can see what it's doing right there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change the z-axis perspective here. Right now the z-axis is looking straight up when you kind of want it looking sideways here. So I'm going to undo it. I'm going to undo the move that I just did. I'm going to go under my tape 4 freeze, going to transform, and I'm going to find my, this is going to be my x-axis rotation. I want to bring this y-axis or this z-axis down so it's looking this way, and that's going to be rotating on the x-axis rotation. I'm going to grab these degrees and do this until it's kind of facing the same direction as the floor. Kind of looks like it's pointing, and I could even change the perspective of the y-axis here so it looks like it's going the same direction as the floor, the y-axis out that way a little bit, and boom, it's kind of like overlapping that floor really well. And I'm going to slide it along the x-axis this way, just make sure it's covering that tape, and the y-axis down to kind of get so it doesn't blend into the shadow there, right about there. Shift question mark. There we go. Deselect it, and it's covered the floor. Let's play through it and see how that reacts now. And that's locking right to the floor, and it's covering up the tape. Only issue is right here, and hardly anybody would ever notice this, is that the shadow is no longer casting a shadow over that portion of the floor right there. So what we could do is even blur those edges on the mask just a little bit more, as much as we possibly can before it starts revealing the tape. Let's go to our mask, feather our mask even more. Go back and see how that did there. And it's not revealing the tape yet. Let's go back, blur it even more. At some point it's going to start revealing the tape. Actually, it's not revealing it yet. So now look, that shadow blends in a little bit more. It's barely noticeable. So we could even do that even more. Now it's starting to show the tape. So I'm going to back that off just a teeny bit until it's restored. There we go. Shift question mark to go full screen. Let's play through that, and boom, the tape has been removed, and that shadow moving in is hardly even noticeable. It's a little bit feathered, but that looks pretty dang good. That render, there you go, and it plays back, and that tape has been removed. So just another little trick there to kind of do some removal of objects, or sorry, covering up objects. Hope I pleased that one person that got angry at me for that one person that got very pedantic with me and got all hung up on semantics. There you go. I'll please that person by saying I covered it up instead of removing. So there you go. So once again, like I showed in the previous tutorial, you can go to composition and add this to the media encoder. You can send it out to ProRes, maintaining the resolution if you want, like a ProRes LT or ProRes 422, whatever sort of color data you're trying to retain. If you really want to retain that color information, you're going to have to go to the bits per channel, and you're going to have to change this to at least 16 bits per channel. If you're working with raw data, if you do the float point, it'll make a much larger file. It's going to take a lot more processing, but you can do 32 bits per channel, which is basically the equivalent of raw footage, and you're going to be able to maintain all the color color information. 8 bits per channel is basically the amount of color information that our eyes can perceive. So if you do 32 bits, you're going to be able to pull out colors that maintain that raw footage and export this out. But like I said, the file is going to take a lot more processing time if you do 32 bits per channel for your compositions. But you are able to maintain your raw information for the color correction later on if that's what your colorist needs, or if you need it for the color information. So, and then once you export those out, like I said, you can use ProRes for a Mac. If you're on a PC or even on a Mac, you can install the Avid codecs that give you the 4K options, the Ultra HD options, UHD, on Avid's website, and then you will be able to export it out. It'll insert those into Premiere, and you can export that out to the media encoder, import it back into Premiere, and drop it in and replace it inside of your timeline with the completed clip. And what I will usually do is I will place it above my effect clip. I leave the original down here, the After Effects right here, but I will disable this by right clicking on it and check marking the enable, and that gets rid of this clip, and then I put the finalized effect clip up here. So I have access to all 3 clips if I need them: the original, the After Effects composition, and the finalized clip. So if you send it to the client doesn't like that effect, you can just export this out again, and it'll automatically update the clip up there if you overwrite the original file. So if you have any questions, please let me know, and thank you for watching this object remove object covering ups. Thank you. And now if you want to watch it, I have a link to this music video in 4K. You can go ahead and watch that. Or if you missed part 1 of this tutorial, I've got the link posted here as well. So you can either click on you can watch the tutorial over again, or you can watch the music video. It's your choice. Go ahead and choose now.